So last time we looked a little bit at social dynamics, as well conflict, fascinating notions as well of power. Now here we actually undermine a lot of those elements. So let's have a little bit closer look why we should maybe look at this, yeah, call it already global virtual teams. But I still want to have the notion of the geographically dispersed team really. It's really the notion that technologically we have advanced, that we can now actually, with information and communication technologies, converse to a reasonable degree. And if you want, you can even go back into the classics of Greek culture. It's the old chestnut of telecommunication meant translated. Anybody from Greece? Oh, this was ambiguous. Telecommunication was literally probably a more romantic notion, which we have heroically translated in nowadays context into having a phone call or Skyping. But in the past it was reading the mind of the other person. Yeah? So this is literally what was the intent behind this. Nowadays we could say heroically, pragmatically, we have translated reading somebody else's mind with a phone call. Yeah? So we can converse over distance, not being in the same place. Yeah, so first of all, why do we need to look at this? It's really the rise and spread of information, communication and technologies. Most of you will do this already probably. Then we have the increased pressure on specialization application. What do I mean by this? This is specialist skills. Yeah? You may be a professional in a particular profession that is not so requested in your locality, in your city or village maybe, but may be requested all over the world to make it a profession of scale. Now you will be one of the few people that can actually provide that skill. This is literally another reason why this is important for us. It's as well an acceleration ambition, meaning that you can do a project whenever you want to. You don't have to train your local people up to be able to do it, yeah, or educate them in complicated, unintuitional matters, but instead you can bring in the skill and knowledge from wherever it is already into your particular project. Yeah, so those are again hidden ambitions of this. And last but not least, global virtual teams were mainly organized into temporary organization. We have now a trend as well that in many companies where you work, there's a trend to the well, the removal of the temporary notion to permanent virtual teams. Now, so you may work as a company employee or maybe as a consultant for a cluster that works in different localities, and you either will fly there to make your contribution, or you support them virtually, yeah, from the distance. So at the moment this is still okay. Let's have another look at another reason for this. If you take more recent literature, they will tell you as well it's increase in international exchange of goods, services, money, growing similarity of laws, rules, norms, values and ideas. Better known really as the notion that I have in the top. Here we are talking about the globalization, yeah? And of course creating implicitly, and this is the challenge why we are so interested in the global virtual team. It's as well our old notion of return on investment for the company. It's a shortage of creative leaders, inability to rapidly develop workforce skills and capability, and ineffective collaboration and knowledge sharing. So this is really the main reason why we try to organize our teams, or why we recruit into our teams on a global scale. Yeah, so we don't have the trouble anymore of being bound to anything. Yeah? If you want. This is of course an important notion. Yeah? Yeah, I should actually point out, I conducted as well research with a colleague from Via in Denmark, and Alex Hope. We looked at a research, what would you call KPMG and Ernst & Young? It's probably best known as management consultancy organizations. They were really curious about it, and we had a cluster of employers where we basically investigated what their trends were. And we found actually what they assumed to be happening where it was already happening. Because as soon as you're connected to the internet, you are at the headquarter of the world. Yeah, but we could basically create evidence for that. We could show that in the project organization, it was less likely that people were sharing knowledge, resources, than instead going on Google. Yeah? It's ein Zuschnitt to you. To you, this is already probably quite normal. Yeah? If you have a problem, you don't know how to find it. You go on Google. Yeah? You investigate the resources from all over the world. But to our companies, this was quite frightening because they thought they had like a coherent organization of knowledge where they were relying on a robust framework, and they weren't, of course. Yeah? So this was quite insightful. Okay. Yeah, global virtual teams. This is really what we try to come to terms with. I really want to rehearse as well a lot of the topics that we have covered this semester to show actually the spin, what's changing if you're working geographically dispersed. But first of all, as so often, it's best to start off with a definition. And this is very good because the first definition, often referred to as global virtual teams, those are my old professors that I used to study with. So they were from Berlin. This is 2002 they started researching really on this. But it's still kind of art de vogue, I have to say. So they have a whole notion about the geographically dispersed team. And before I go into the definition, what does geographically dispersed mean? Do we work normally in a team where we are geographically united?
Same office?
Yes, this was the right answer. Yeah, so you are especially in a same office. This is when you are literally not dispersed. Yeah? So distance does matter. Yeah? So when do you start considering, if you have a question, when do you consider texting or emailing instead of getting up and asking the person? Yeah? When is that critical border? And the quick answer is, it depends. It depends greatly. What about you? If you are studying in the library and you have seen somebody on another floor when you got a book, and you have a question, would you get up to talk to them, or would you email them or text them? Or what would be your choice?
It depends very much on the distance.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So give me your distance.
If it's the next floor, you'll probably walk up and talk to them, but if it's like a few miles, you're not going to go in.
So first floor, sixth floor, not okay?
No, that's not a problem. You can go in.
But you have the elevator? Okay, but one floor you would do, yeah, but...
no, if it's 4 floors, you might not.
Okay. So you would probably email them, yeah?
No, you could walk. If it's not a great distance, you could walk. If the distance is very long, it's easier to email.
Okay.
You can also use instant messaging.
Oh, I see. Okay. Here we have already advanced, yeah, so instant messenger.
Just send the message immediately.
So not even walk up to one floor?
No.
Okay. So not even the floor. Okay, yeah?
Depends on the relevance of the message. I mean, if it's something that must be registered in some way or not.
Okay, this is a good dependency. Yeah, so it depends as well on the message. Is it a yes, no? Or is it actually a refined answer that you're looking for and clarification? Yeah?
No, I mean, I was trying to see the relevance of the message.
Oh, I see. You have already prioritized, yeah?
Can be yes or no, but yes about what?
Okay, so you would, and more important, would you write or then go over? So more important, you would definitely write.
Yeah.
Even sitting next to the person.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. So this is probably insurance as well, yeah, and there seem to be other agendas there, yeah?
For me, that is to work with actors, because the email and message, the worst communication between them.
Okay.
Sometimes you are not understand what is the between the lines. Better face to face.
Yeah. You want a full communication. You want this way to see mimic and gestic, body, and face to face. Yeah.
In the same building, we can use the lift. Not big issue. 6, 7 floors.
Okay, this is good. Yeah, we recognize there are different ways of thinking about it, and they are all legitimate. This is a fascinating thing. Other thoughts here? Was there another ratio that we should consider?
Well, maybe the speed as well.
speed.
Sometimes it takes longer to text a message on your phone than just to walk there and ask and walk back.
Okay, this is very good. Yeah? So you make the ratio, so not necessarily prioritize, but it's speed of response.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like the efficiency drive there already. Yeah. This is a smaller way of looking at it. Yeah. It's certainly they are all there. Yeah. And it's very important to be aware of them, because quite frankly, the diversity that we have here, you are very likely to have as well in your project. Yeah. So we have only a few. We have a cultural phenomena. I will talk about that briefly in the end. Arguably, a lot of you are this cultural phenomena. Yeah, we had that already. Instant chat. This means you have a responsiveness as well. That means not just you can send every time, but you have to be available as well every time. Yeah, so there's implication here, and this is important to recognize. Okay, back to the definitions. Geographically dispersed, as rightly pointed out, means literally that you have a certain distance between you and others. And there's a very famous study done by MIT on this. It's a research cluster that has kind of looked at the ratio distance versus ability to communicate well. Now, well, if you're in the same building and you are away further than the, what was a distance? I think for you it was 1 floor. We had some 4 floors, wasn't even a problem, yeah. Then we had some even sitting next to them, yeah, that they would rather write. There is a critical ratio, and the irony is, if you're further than 2 offices away, it's for most people unlikely that they will get up to talk to you. Yeah? I don't know how they figured this out, but it's a big study from MIT. And they have pointed out the worst communication is if you're in the same office block, but you are kind of far enough away to not meet you on a regular basis to catch up. This is the worst setting for communication. If you are physically away, you know this. You arrange a meeting. You meet somewhere where you can talk. Or you make the effort on email, because you know you are not likely to meet them. But we have a misassumption as communicators. If we are kind of in the same building and have a certain distance, we assume, it's okay, I can ask them later when I see them. Yeah, but here often driving a very weak paradigm. Yeah, this came as well, actually, this is Dime et al., for example. Yeah, they were part of the study. So there's a whole list of publications on this. But very important to memorize. Yeah, being in the same office, we often switch to direct communication. If it's enforcing, so if it has implications for us, written communication is often the preferred form. And not even email, often it was a traditional letter, which has then translated to email and other forms. Yeah. Okay, so a geographical dispersed teams is a team that is dispersed by distance. Distance which may be in the form of a geography, organization, time, culture, and or language, and the team's main form of cooperation is based on using communication technologies. So it restricts you on this. I have to admit that the cultural and language basis is probably a quite dominant one. I've recently read papers about extremes where people were communicating in not having the same language. They use kind of communication tools like Google Translate, and they're more sophisticated ones. I was slightly alienated with the papers, I have to admit. Yeah, it's very counterintuitive what comes out, but they still communicate with a certain sufficiency if you have a standard of communication tools. But we come to that. Yeah. Last but not least, is a team where team members rarely or never meet face to face, and a few more on this. This is already looking at the levels of dispersion. So here teams range in level of dispersion from being separate by different floors in the same building to being separate by continents or really geography, being away. It doesn't really matter if you're in, from here, I think the opposite on the planet is New Zealand, isn't it? Geographically, is this ambiguous? If you basically go the furthest distance away from where we are here, you may be somewhere, but it's the same if you are here somewhere in Newcastle and I cannot physically reach you. Now the barriers of communication kind of are the same if you want to communicate urgent information at the time. Yeah, it just means that you have a different variety probably of communication technologies available. Then there's as well a degree of virtuality from highly to minimally virtual. So this is from team members meeting always never to meeting from time to time. Yeah, this has been then as well further refined from by type of configuration, from all members in different locations to most members in the same location, and just a few or one in separate locations. This is if you have like other team members. And it creates, of course, as well different dynamics. Yeah, so to work actually backwards through it, yeah, so if you have just one that works in a separate location to others, it's very easy to single that person out because meetings may have a certain urgency, and if that person isn't there to meet, yeah, or is not virtually available with wonderful tools like Skype or Google Chat, what is it called now, Google Chat? Yeah? No, I mean, yes, this is the old term, but okay. This is homework, yeah. Basically, there are a lot of chat facilities where you could log in, but it means as well that you have to be available. Yeah, and if you are a single virtual team member, this is often very difficult to establish as a relation to have the same input in the team. Yeah, so there is a prioritizing of communication by implication. Yeah, and this is something you need to be aware of course, as a project manager. Now, the easiest way of looking at this was really, as I've already defined, that they are same place, different place, and then on the left side, oh, this didn't come out nicely. Should have really used a different color. Then we have two more categories on the left side, yeah, that is collaborate at the same time, collaborate at a different time, and then you have like suggested methods, yeah, communication tools, if you want, and techniques. So same place, collaborate at the same time, very simple, meet in the same physical room. This is always optimum, yeah, face to face, because you get the full communication. Yeah, you can read between the lines, as you pointed rightly. Yeah, there is as well this notion that you can affirm things if you don't understand them. If you have to capture them, yeah, you're quite right, it's worthwhile taking minutes, but those are things that you can use. And normally our interaction goes as well to forms like whiteboard, or we capture it there and then on a poster or whatever you want to use. Yeah. When you come then to collaborate at different times, do you have any other ones? What do you use in your meetings? Sorry, that was not repeat. This is just a few suggestions. What do you use when you meet with team members, or if you work in a group? Do you use anything else? Just talk face to face?
Yeah, write it down.
Yeah.
Because that's what the whiteboard is for.
Yeah. So, or take your own notes. Yeah. Yeah, but when I meet with my colleagues for research, we bring each other as well papers that we have read, yeah, to compare if our reading is up to standard. Yeah, but okay, this is just playfulness of taking notes and giving advanced notes, yeah, for further reading. Okay, but then collaborate at different time, yeah, same place. Here you may actually have already virtual team meeting space or room. How would you do that normally? I think this becomes difficult, isn't it? You would probably already jump into the virtual world and not make it place specific. How would you communicate this? I mentioned already the hard copy, yeah, so we bring each other papers or books along. We have that as well here. Hard copy bulletin board maybe, yeah, where you write it down and everybody can have a look at it. What else could we do?
PowerPoint.
Yeah?
PowerPoint, slides.
So slides, yeah. So do you mean, but do you think already of the virtual version, yeah? The PowerPoint, for example, to circulate it. So this is, yeah, you are already here in the virtual team. Yeah? Very good. Any other hard copy versions? okay, you potentially fall already into the category of millennia. I will tell you this later what that is. This means you think already in virtual solutions. You have abandoned the old ways of capturing data and handing it over. You think already in the new formats that have been virtualized. Yeah? So this is quite interesting. So then I assume even if you're in the same place and you want to collaborate at different times, you would probably upload documents that were relevant to you in an electric form that other people can interact with, I assume. Or is somebody filming the meetings? No. Okay. This wasn't the response that I thought I would get. Okay. So probably not. Yeah. Okay. So but there's a virtual drive to it. Now the interesting thing with this is your generation seems to be already quite literate to that. Yeah. So actually we kind of have this interface as well at university with e-learning portal and resources like that. You automatically enforce this virtual room, yeah, or a space to actually share information. Yeah. Then you have as well a different place. Here we have again collaborate at the same time. How do you do this? A lot of you are in this position. You are at a different place to your family, to your friends, to your colleagues maybe, or who you want to communicate. How do you stay in contact if you want to communicate something directly to the person? What do you do if it's urgent?
Phone call.
Phone call? Yeah, very good.
Skype.
Messaging.
Skype messaging? Yeah. Wait. Not too quick. So phone call. When would you do a phone call?
Well, if it's urgent.
Okay. So direct response.
Yeah.
Optimally, we have to add here. This is not the old phone that is attached to the wall. Yeah, it's a mobile, I assume. Yeah, that you would call.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. So there's already the first advancement. Yeah, we have actually mobiles nowadays, and this is important to recognize. We may not actually have networks for this everywhere. Yeah. So then we had first we had Skype. So when would you Skype?
Well, we could talk to your friends or family. It's free and it saves you a lot of money, and you could exchange great amount of information with you because you're not paying for the conversation.
So what? Why did you all come at the same time? This is amazing. There were 3 people just coming in at the same time. Was there something happening? Did you?
I had to drop family off. So
Okay, so separate reasons, but at the same time. Okay, fair enough. I thought there was now a pattern emerging, yeah. But okay, so we have Skype. And what is the benefit of Skype? What is that effectively?
video conference.
Pardon?
You could,
Video conferencing.
Yeah, video
you
conference.
could see the body language of the other person.
Yeah. So you see to a degree the body movement. What happens often? Do you have eye contact when you Skype?
Yeah.
Eye contact. Yeah, it is. But
Okay.
it's very weird, isn't it? It's not the real thing.
The camera is not on the screen.
Okay, it depends on your settings. Yeah. So normally you look kind of there,
You can screen.
and the other person is as well looking down, and you kind of. But yeah, I mean it gives you mimic and gestic. Yeah, and you realize what is the benefit as well with Skype.
What do you mean?
What is the benefit? What feedback do we get from Skype that we don't get necessarily from the telephone?
Facial expression.
Yeah, facial expression. Yeah, so we can kind of figure out if the person is maybe interested, yeah, motivated, and so forth, which becomes an enormous important point for our virtual team. Yeah? Then we had as well Messenger, right? Well, when do you use Messenger?
For instance, a BlackBerry Messenger. You have all your family and friends, like contacts are here. You can just chat real time online.
So it's an instant chat, and I'm not familiar with the BlackBerry one, but can you see if the other person is online or not?
Yes.
Okay, so this is beneficial. Yeah, you can see if they're there. You can ask questions and get responses instantly, depending on the skill, probably on how fast they can type. I have seen whole rafts of different typing speeds that have a subtle influence on the chat experience. Yeah, I've seen like my cousin. She is how old actually now 90. She can type so fast. It's just, I get really, I ask really complicated questions when I have a question just to make it a little bit awkward, that I have more time to pre-type my answer. So it's terrible. Yeah, but there's a certain pressure for me. But okay, but so chat is as well very good for instant communication. Yeah, potentially as well clarification. What else do we have? Chat again. The problem. Oh, do you do chat? You can as well have pictures, right?
Yeah, you can send
Yeah, you
pictures, exchange location. Like if I'm here and I'm chatting on BlackBerry, or I can activate my location, so I can actually, if I'm chatting with people, actually know where I am, and then I'll be able to know where the person is.
Okay, so in some cases, a lot of the apps, other ones that I'm thinking of that has a parallel is Viber, or I think as well WhatsApp, and a lot more actually. Yeah, those are just a few that come to mind that actually geotag you as well. Yeah, so when you have a phone call, the person can see where you are actually.
You can turn that off though, which is quite useful.
Okay, yeah. So and if you want privacy, this can be switched off. Yeah, so quite interesting. I had as well the combination. So I think in Google Chat you can have the video conference whilst exchanging, for example, documents. Yeah, so this is in a way probably as well what you could do with your chat. So there are certain functionalities to this. But what else do we have? We had so far a phone call. We had Skype video conferencing call. Then we had chat. What else can we have? If you want to collaborate at the same time in a different place.
Oh, they've got that new one, the new virtual presence.
Virtual
presence.
Okay, I'm not aware of this.
Yeah, you can be recorded in one place and then you are projected in another. It's a virtual presence device. They're using it for conferencing, things like that.
Oh yeah, okay. I've actually seen it.
Yeah, it's like
if you want to see a cheap application of that, King's Cross, there is a lady that warns you. She is as well virtually actually there. She warns you that you have to watch your step. This is going on the elevators. I nearly fell because of her, because she speaks from the side to you. Once you focus on your cue, and they're like, oh, what does she want? They're like, you kind of fall on the elevator stairs. So, but yeah, it was quite fascinating. But this is literally the app, and they can even change it. Yeah. And there's a live person behind it that updates it. So this becomes really weird. But when you stand there, you see actually she makes as well announcements, and this is kind of live. So it's pre-recorded, and she's 3D. So it's a laser. Actually, I have no idea what it is, but it looks like little lasers that basically make a 3D form, which is pretty cool.
And they've got that live now. It's live streaming of it, which has been developed for proper conferencing. So you can be in your little office and you're talking to whoever you need to be, but they can see your whole body now instead of just your face on the screen. It's like you are there.
The proper projection of your body. Yeah. This is the next step, yeah. So maybe in the future, obviously, a mobile as well that you can project yourself. This will be very interesting in traffic and all that. But there's certainly an application for that. I had other ones as well. As well, electronic whiteboard to capture things. Yeah. How do you capture something like that? Do you record it? If you collaborate at the same time in a different place, how do you capture agreements? Do you film it? Do you record it?
No, you don't need permission first before you start recording.
Yeah, so there's the ethical conduct first. Yeah, you should clarify that the other party knows you're filming every word that they are saying. This normally creates a certain trust in it's a certain atmosphere. Yeah, but how do you capture then the data or what you agree?
Wouldn't you still need a signature for an agreement? You still need some form of signature.
I like that you think already along the legal implications.
Yeah.
So it would have to be signed at the end, or at the beginning potentially.
Because you can sign on. You now get a digital signature that you can put on things, and you can send that with your agreement.
Yeah, this is very true. Yeah, so this gets normally ambiguous. I have some pretty poor practice a year ago with a colleague of mine But yeah, this is possible.
And you got fax?
Yeah, fax is a traditional one. I think I even have that as it's here. For collaborating at the same time, it's intense because it may take time. Yeah, but normally it's quite quick as well. Yeah? It just depends how much you want to fax. If you have a whole contract binding folder with specifications, this may take some time. Yeah, but okay, normally we use formats where we can maybe edit both. Yeah? So Google Docs is a famous one, where you actually can both type at the same time. Very good with configuration management. It updates a section time sequentially. Yeah? So you, I think I described it before, Petra Bosch, a professor in Sweden. I'm going to visit her next week for guest lectures. When we write a paper together, we write it at the same time. So I write something and she can actually edit it in my document, which becomes a little bit creepy. I think I've told you the emotional journey that I had just written 2 pages. And then when I wanted to read through it, it was just 1.5 pages because she had deleted a lot. Yeah, so there is a certain implication with it, but it's instant. Yeah, so you can as well collaborate on that basis. And it's tracked, so you can see what they did. So it's a little bit like, if you're familiar with Word, it's a little bit like a Word review. Yeah? So it has the same features. If you don't know what I'm on about, then certainly worth one exploring because it becomes quite important. We had as well the chat. We have now as well a virtual reality. Has somebody used that? That you actually meet virtually with a persona or image or photo or something like that? No?
In a world, basically.
In a
VR
world. Yeah.
That's really creepy.
Okay, it's a powerful thing though. Yeah, so a lot of virtual teams that work constantly virtually use this often because it creates a different feeling of togetherness. So we come a little bit back to motivation later on, where we actually touch on that, and it has been proven to be actually quite good in that. I suppose you have to have a cultural bias for that too. I was just, we had a suggestion like that as well in our university. Our human resource management wanted to market us as well virtually, all the lecturers and professors and so. You should have seen the happiness from my colleagues. It certainly didn't fly very high, and it meant that you had to spend extensive time basically creating your persona in the first stage, and then of course updating it that it's as well relevant. Yeah. So this is quite a tricky one, but the last one. But the other ones are probably commonly used from you as well. Can I just see who has used something like WhatsApp or Viber, Skype, or Google Chat before? Okay, most of you. This means you have actually sufficiently interacted with web conferencing and document sharing interfaces. Now this is quite advanced. The literature still argues that there's 60% of the population that has difficulties to use this sufficiently. So quite interesting. Last but not least, collaborate at a different time. This is literally virtual teams, meeting room space. We had that already. Most of you seem to do this already. You capture it with email, not so much fax and FedEx anymore, or any other parcel or document service will actually do. Postal mail is probably as well outdated. Who still writes postcards or letters in traditional form? Yes, one person, and me. Nobody else? Oh, this is heartbreaking. This is a proper artifact, you know. A postcard, you can put it against the wall. It depends what you like more, the writing or the picture.
You can print an email.
Yeah. Okay.
And they get it instantly.
Yeah, okay. I'm a little bit nostalgic there, but I have as well somebody else that still likes
I
it.
don't understand why you'd want someone else to read your message before your other party gets it with a postcard. Because with a postcard, since one side's complete, you can be writing something, people will be reading it all along the way as it's coming to your...
Yeah, but the picture can be a message too. You know, so I don't want to use too ambitious examples, but you know, it could be, for example, if you are at a conference, yeah, and your colleague couldn't come, you could send that expression of "he has been missed," Yeah, so something like that. You know, this would be, I think, appropriate emotional response. Yeah? So, yeah, but something along those lines. So it has a lot of trigger, but as we see, not many people are doing it anymore, and there's a decline in general. The big challenges, really, don't worry, I will explain each one of those later on. Additional challenge, really, for working in dispersed teams is working together over distance represents a number of issues. Yeah? So issues that may also be found in co-located teams, but issues that will be magnified due to dispersion. So here it's a little bit counterintuitive. Trust works actually the other way around, but we will come to that in a second. I don't actually know why I put you all the references in. It's a good read. Yeah? We can read as well our paper. Yeah, Tina, Alex, and I, we have actually summarized that for you. But let's go through it. So, first of all, team development has been described by Tuckman, of course, using 5 stages. And for an initial description, this is still quite a good one. So when you come together in a virtual team, you still have the notions of forming, norming, storming, performing, adjourning. But we have here other dynamics underlining them. So a little bit to touch on this. I have it far too small. I should have really made it a lot bigger. Yeah, it's in the virtual teams, you're often being recruited on the basis of your competence, skill, and knowledge. This is often the expertise that you're bringing to the team. Now, we do an interesting thing. When we actually form a team, this often means that you give trust up front. How do you meet, oh, this is an interesting one. When you first were allocated in your group or in a team at university, did you trust them up front, or did you feel like, why do I have them in my team? Let's see if they can actually pull their weight. Did you start with mistrust or trust? Do you remember? This is an ambiguous question. The last project that you worked on, did you start with trust or mistrust?
You probably shouldn't have any preconceptions when you meet somebody. You kind of explore their personality and what they're really all about. You should not have preconceptions about people. You should talk to them and find out what they really are.
So is this hypothetical should not and a reality with you, or did you have like pre-perceptions against your team members?
I try not to.
Okay, so you make a mental act out of it, yeah? So you say like, no, I shouldn't have pre-perceptions, and you say like, they're here to support me with their expertise.
You need to talk to them and find out about them.
Okay. Okay, this is actually suggesting slight suspicion, yeah, so a little bit mistrust. What about others? You had your armor. Oh, okay, start with distrust. Okay, very good. Yeah, so you start with trust and then arrive at a healthy suspicion, yeah? So let's call it that. Yeah. Actually, this is very much true for virtual teams. Yeah, so 95% of virtual, 94 something, percent of teams allocated in a virtual team express exactly that. They have a blind trust initially. They often feel happy to be on the project because they're often coming in either on basis of expertise, specialism, or competence. This is often where it's coming from, yeah? Previous experience. So a very powerful mechanism, and trust is there from the beginning, but the more you get to know each other, yeah, the more you doubt the previous given trust, and there may be reasons for it. So when we actually follow this, wait a minute, have I forgotten anything? Okay, global teams follow kind of the same patterns that Tuckman and his colleague observed, but it's actually completely opposite. We start actually often off with a trust surplus. So literature, however, suggests here these include slower development of trust in forming stages, and that is a surprise. Because what that means is that on the first meeting, you have kind of destroyed trust and you have to rebuild it. Yeah? So there's a lot of literature around that. And that is very problematic because often in a virtual team you may not actually have the luxury on face-to-face meetings, which are of course the most powerful one. So we can actually facilitate this, and this has been emphasized. So using conference facilities or Skype, as you said, this depends a little bit on the national flavor, where your project is. There are some platforms that don't work in certain countries. You have to find, of course, something that works for all. But the importance of the face-to-face meeting is essential to as well maintain a certain trust. And this is particular when it comes to the stage from forming to norming to storming. So in the startup phase, to build trust and establish common ground for the future success of the virtual team, it's very, very important. And it's not something that happens naturally. You have to plan for this as a project manager. And we come to that in a second when we go in the specifics. So there's an active notion of actually facilitating that. In my past, we actually standardized communication. So I worked for an American company in South Africa. Then my colleagues were as well all over the world. So we had a standardized communication template that we would actually comply with. There was as well social etiquette. This is quite interesting. Trust, is it important that you have a little bit of chit-chat to get to know each other a little bit on the personal side? Is this important or not so important? You are now in a virtual team, you have new members, you have, what countries shall we take? We have one from New Zealand, we have one from, I think South Korea would be interesting. We take one person from South Korea, then we take one chap from Iceland, and one from Uruguay. Uruguay next to Brazil, this makes sense, I think. And last but not least, we have as well a Polynesian. We take Tahiti, Tahiti, just to make it spiced up. So now, is it important to have a chit-chat up front, to get to know each other?
Yeah.
Yes. Why?
Or even with a normal team, you should always interact and talk to them.
Why?
Get to know them, get to understand them.
Break the ice.
Otherwise, it's just someone else that's just out there that's not important. You get to know your team, you become better acquainted with what they can do.
Okay, so you make a clear case for relationship building, in a team. As something that is very important, getting to know each other. Any other thoughts? Opposing views. Do you think it's a waste of time? We shouldn't do this.
Yeah, sure. And then try to understand there's a cultural background and be able to relate with them.
Okay, so you make another, build on that case, you say,
very, very
build the relationship and understand the culture. Yeah.
Yes, and then maybe language barriers.
Yeah, very good. We come to that. Yeah, so you have as well the P. Yeah, but the problem is with face-to-face meetings. Why do we normally have a meeting? Why do we meet in business? In our meetings, do we have time for chit-chat before? This depends a little bit in which context you are working. In the meetings, in business, or if you meet with your colleagues to work on something. Do you have a chit-chat up front?
That's a situation, but usually we do.
Okay, so you say normally you do. Well, when did you not have a chat?
Well, if there's like a stress situation,
Okay.
you know, I'm going to talk about last weekend, if there's something that needs to be done right now.
Okay. So time pressure kind of interferes with
I
stuff.
think so.
Yeah? Okay. So everybody has a chat before this? This is good, you have worked in good work environments. I have to again play devil's advocate in Germany, no chit chat. There would be even questions like, oh, why are you interested in my well-being over the weekend? What are your plans with this piece of information? Yeah, so I work clearly on the other side of this game. Yeah, but the relationship building is important. Actually, I have a slide for that as well. Yeah, but this depends on cultural preferences. The importance is, and this point was made, you have to agree to a certain form of allowing chit-chat before you actually start to work through the points, because it's part really of the team building and maintaining it at a level where you are actually performing, the one that you need. Additional challenges really coming all from literature is coordination of work. Here you have competing pressures from local assignments during performing stage and an influencing process aimed at goal achievement. Yeah, so there is as well a certain issue with this. Yeah? So coordination of work, if you are in a global team, you don't see the process around you. You often just see the documents uploaded in the final stage. If you don't use something like Google Docs, yeah, where you can see the emergence of the same document. And this is, of course, an implications. It's not that easy to get motivated. Yeah? So, in other words, actually I upload you the talk because it's quite wonderful from a colleague of mine, Ollie, who works as well in virtual teams with design teams of architectural designs, and it helps very often with the visualization of the design. Yeah? And he works as well with brilliant consultants that focus on the design. And he has very often that he has a meeting because he works on a contract somewhere in the Middle East. And time difference to Middle East is?
+3 GMT for Bahrain and +4 for Dubai.
Yeah, so +4. And wait a minute, so... Oh, wait a minute. I think this example doesn't make sense, but I still remember that. He basically, he ran out of the bed, basically put his suit jacket on and even his tie, yeah, and still had his pajamas on here, yeah, and was just sitting in front of the desk. And it became, he had a slip, he had to get something to show them. When he got up, it became apparent that the suit didn't match, yeah, so this was ridiculous funny, of course, for the other team members. But he did a great job. Yeah? But the point that he always made with this is just because they have working hours there and they are pushing on with the work does not mean that you go once the virtual communication is over, yeah? So the conference call was over, he basically switched off and went back to bed for 2 hours, yeah, to sleep on. Yeah? So all I'm saying here is there is a communication about the work that you're going to do and a delegating factor, but it may not translate into direct response. Yeah, if it works ideally, in the teams where we worked at PepsiCo, we have kind of, in a way, we have our protocol and standardized it. It's amazing. Yeah, you kind of hand over a job. In the evening, before leaving, you have a Skype meeting, you explain where you are, what you're working on, what is confirmed, what is still in the design, or what needs configuration, with new technologies. And you wake up in the morning and your work has progressed. Yeah? It's like somebody has magically done the work for you. It's just a wonderful feeling, I promise you that. It's just bad if it's then not happening one day. Yeah? You come to work and it hasn't actually progressed, and it's kind of demotivating. But okay, yeah, so it can be wonderful if it works. But the problem of coordination of work is that you have to be very precise as well what people work on, and you can't really get around through a stricter planning, yeah, because or you allow consistent communication, and that becomes very tiring. So coordination of work, you can decide either plan it very accurately, yeah, the tasks and roles, that there's a clear awareness of who is working on which task, who these tasks relate to. This means as well that you know the dependency on the particular task. Yeah, so this means, in other words, that you have updated your team members. I'm finished with this thing. This is how it's going to look. You can work now on the details for this following piece. Yeah? So for an example, yeah, when it comes to the planning, that you basically allocate what you're working on. The other way is that you communicate consistently when there are interfaces with other colleagues that you're working on, yeah? where the expertise from your colleague is required to work actually on. The worst case that can happen in virtual teams, and I suppose you may have experienced it as well when you worked here in a team on campus, if people make assumptions and it's not the same assumptions, and you go away and you work a week on it, and the other person works a week on it, and you have made assumptions that are actually convergent, yeah? So that they don't actually harmonize. This becomes particularly problematic because then we are at the next point. Yeah? It's actually conflict and culture that come in here. Yeah, there's then a massive risk of misunderstanding. Yeah, and the problem with virtual work is as well, we seem to have a stronger emotional attachedness to our work. And so we pride ourselves even more so because we are committing here on a expertise or competence basis, which makes it even harder to negotiate who has to change what or how you are best negotiating the changes that need to happen. Now, so this is very, very difficult. So, the former point was really when you come to the coordination of work, it's recommendable to have a detailed protocol or protocols really and standards for communication in general and for conducting meetings in particular are important to optimize team efficiency, to avoid misunderstandings and to secure engagement from all team members. So this means as well that if a team member has a very big task that they are just working on independently, that there are a lot of those tasks that may occur where you're buying in an expertise of a particular product that gets tailored to your site. If you work in gas and any kind of installations where you have to work a little bit more with assembly parts and semi-completed products or systems, you will actually have that they go away and adapt their product or system to yours. And it's important that you keep them in the loop, that you know as well when it's ready, because there comes the interface when you have to integrate it, and that is of course the tricky part. Yeah? Conflict and culture, well, as we pointed out, in teams we have more a risk of misunderstandings in storming phase due to less rich communication channels compared to face-to-face meetings, difficulties in establishing norms for cooperation and communication during norming phase, and establishing a global organizational culture is underlined, including knowledge of and skills in working with team members from different national cultures. Now this is very important. Just to give you an insight, in an international company like PepsiCo, although they are renowned with Indira as an Indian CEO, say Indian, to illustrate that she is multicultural, so she is Indian, but she grew up, I think, in Canada, then lived for a while in Brazil, speaks multiple languages and all that. And it's supposed to reflect as well the company culture in PepsiCo. But quite frankly, they have a very dominant culture. I certainly didn't live in this country my German culture. So they are actually prescribing to values and codes of conduct, ethical standards and behavioral norms. So be aware that there is a better way of doing this. And this is done by probably the larger ones that are supposedly good practice. So on construction sites, you may not actually have that level. In a design team, you may do. But, and again, the opposite is true too. You may not find it in the design team, but you may find it on a construction site, where it actually works incredibly well. So that shouldn't be underrated. But there's certainly this element to it. Yeah? So if you can establish it, face-to-face meetings and a schedule for it, this is a very strong thing. Communication technologies itself, first to conflict and culture. This is as well an area where just last week with our wonderful seminar, I was so fascinated because there was as well then, it wasn't really the tone. In a way you all agreed that it's wonderful that we discovered the cultural diversity and became aware of that. But in between there was a little bit of fighting for which cultural view is right and wrong. Yeah? So this is of course a danger to have as well, especially in virtual teams. They are trying to dominate a prescription of how you should communicate, what are the values to drive forward. If you can, as a project manager, you have to facilitate that each individual counts with its full momentum and you find an inclusive integration. But this is very, very difficult. You can think back of the last lecture that we had on conflict. With the communication technology, teams are, this is really an important one, and I suppose the drive from if you belong to that cultural group, millennia, then you will actually be unsatisfied if you don't have the newest technology that you are using. So this is always kind of heartbreaking for the team. So the communication technology has a huge hygiene factor, as Herberg put it. So teams are formed not only based on the specialist skills of the team members, but often they are recruited on that basis. So be aware of that. But also team skills and technological skills must be taken into consideration and further trained with special focus on teams in a virtual setting. So this means as well that you actually agree on a technology or interface that everybody can use. Now, I haven't seen this in industry. No, I did actually. One of our clients had problems with working with certain platforms where we use certain drawing programs, but then we actually send it to them in a PDF format, which worked for them. But I haven't actually seen in industry that somebody says like, oh, I can't use the communication technology. Can somebody else do this for me, or can we use something else? But I've seen that more recently, in my work collaboration with colleagues at other universities, that they had a certain, I don't want to say, they had an averseness to using technology and learning the new technologies. Now, as this is quite a surprising thing to see, I think, in university, where we are kind of all pro-education, you may find that as well. It's very important that you find a way of negotiating this, and you don't fall into the trap what Ollie will tell you on the video if you watch it. He said he interpreted it as such: if somebody doesn't upload it in time, it means that they weren't willing to do the 4 hours that it needed maybe to share the essential information with the team. So he interpreted it as very personal. Why do I say this? This is potentially something what the team perceives, if there's a lack of engagement. But the key is, of course, to do as what is suggested. You have to allow your team members and maybe coach them that they understand the technology and can use it as well enough to not be frustrated with it. So this is very, very important. Okay, a few more references from literature. So additional challenges to leading a dispersed teams is really that you, first of all, the leadership effort really changes. If you try to control, and you have mentioned a few nice things from controlling team activities, you can say like, okay, check to me and put your geographical tag on that I can see where you are. To avoid that you are project managing on a style like that, in virtual team you really have to try to create a certain self-assigned autonomy in your project members. This is extremely difficult to do, especially if it's tasks where they're not being rewarded on the task base itself, but paid by hour. So we have a lot of literature around it that points out that that is very problematic. But leadership is here not so much that you tell people what to do. So you may agree tasks that they take on or job roles that they take on, but you have to create an environment where they take it on and autonomously perform those things. Because otherwise you are in a huge dilemma, and this has been shown over and over again. Quite frankly, otherwise your virtual team will probably fail. There's only so much how you can monitor it. Otherwise you have other effects basically that disencourage the whole notion of the team. So, wait, I say it quickly. So, in other words, we can actually monitor nowadays to the 100%, cameras and all that can do it, and then you can even check if they're working on the document, if they're doing this, but it creates a monotone feeling. You miss literally the will of performance, and as well the motivation goes substantially down. So this is it's a way of discouragement from research not to use it, although it creates, of course, total control in you. The other challenges are really selecting the right combination of use of communication technologies. We had that already. Designing processes and netiquettes for securing optimal communication between the team members. This was a recognition that there may be preferred forms of communication between two people. Yeah? So should we disable it and standardize it? This is a big question. What would you do? Your project manager, some people like to use Viber, but your agreed platform is something in the company. Do you tell them now, don't use Viber anymore?
I think it's better to all use one platform. It makes life much easier. Because I've used one before that the company have liked, but we all agreed internally on the project we are going to choose this one.
Yeah, so standardization is actually better. It makes it easier to capture, but you have to be aware there may be personal preferences that are rooted in other activities. Yeah, so if you have one for a project agreed, then you have to encourage this. But if the people work actually the main time as well in virtual teams and use other platforms, there may be a trade-off. They may be exposed daily to the comparison, and one works very quickly and smooth for everything you wanted, and the other one maybe not so smooth. Then this creates, of course, a willingness to engage. Yeah? And in general, secure optimal working conditions for team empowerment. Yeah, this is again the drive back to the autonomy. So the empiric really suggests that without autonomy in a global virtual team, you're on extremely thin ground. Yeah? Quite frankly. So there was even the call for whether you call it self-leadership, emergent leadership, shared leadership, or transformational leadership. We believe that virtual teams provide a unique opportunity for redefining the concept of leadership. Today, more recently, and actually we're establishing a leadership academy at the moment in the business school. It's a servant leadership style. Yeah, so it's recognizing yourself as a project manager, as a servant of your team to actually help them. Yeah? Okay, and now we go in the characteristics. Do you want a 5 minutes break? I run over time already. 5 minutes break? Yeah? Okay, people not. Let's have a 5 minutes break then.